It's time to paint the town red. No, not the new Doja Cat song, but Nintendo's future. And by their future, I'm talking in a few hours. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. We're about to have red Nintendo fever and new rumor about cameras being added to Nintendo Switch, which I think is just way too believable for Nintendo. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hope you're doing fantastic. If you enjoy these videos, hit that like button. If you need a memory card, well, they come in red packaging. It's not the red I'm referring to with the Lexar Play card, is the memory card I'm referring to, the best, fastest, safest card on the market. Make sure to click the link in the description down below to grab one for yourselves. Every time you do, it helps support the channel and helps support all your Switch stuff, storing it forevermore. Now, this is an old Switch, but according to leaker Bill Coon, about to be the newest Switch. Bill Coon has been leaking unannounced products for years now and is very good at doing so, especially when it comes to things like special edition consoles. This was a special edition console years ago, before there was an OLED. It's a red Switch, red dock. I have it sitting in my backdrop every darn day. But Bill Coon says that you're getting it again at the Mario Wonder Direct. But you're getting it slightly different. He says it's going to be a red dock, red Joy-Con, but it's just going to be the neon red color scheme. Now, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but these are slightly different. Ever so different. 15% different. This is a Mario red Switch. This is a neon red base Joy-Con. And apparently the new OLED bundle is going to have a neon red set of Joy-Con and a neon red dock, which I think is about the most boring thing you could possibly do. Look, we've already done red, and I know red is Mario's color, but this Mario Wonder OLED better have some fancy features and all sorts of great, what is that word? Engravings, or color schemes or things of that sort, because this, don't just do this again. And honestly, the neon red isn't even really Mario red. We've had neon red Joy-Con. We haven't had a neon red dock. A neon red OLED just feels like about the simplest thing you could possibly do, but apparently it's going to be announced tomorrow. Apparently it's releasing before October, and apparently we're going to see it very, very soon. I hope that in some way this is wrong, or that there's just more detail and nuance to the new Mario OLED than this, but when you do a Mario console, it doesn't need to just be red. Right? Like, we can do better. This is fun for a one-time thing, but we don't need another one that's just darn red. And especially not if we're just going to reuse the paint from the launch neon red Joy-Con that technically doesn't even match up with Mario. But I guess par for the course, because they're booting Charles Martinet out of the universe. Maybe they're booting Mario's color scheme out of the universe as well. To be clear, I think Martinet wanted to be out. I think he's done. But I don't know if Mario wanted to be neon. I hope that there is some mixing of strings here, mixing of wires, because I'm all down for a Mario OLED. Mario's like my favorite part of Nintendo, and so I'd love an OLED to commemorate. But just doing this again with the OLED screen kind of sucks. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if you already have an OLED. I don't know if a Mario OLED would move the needle for you. Mario Wonder to me is blue. Mario Wonder to me is not red. So while this leak is probably very, very true, I am hoping that for once Bill Coon is wrong, and that instead it is a blue-themed Switch, because we have the Scarlet Violet-themed OLED, we have the Splatoon-themed OLED, we have the Zelda-themed OLED, and I think this would be the worst, ugliest one if it was just plain red. That's the latest for new Switch hardware, but in terms of actually new Switch hardware, there's an interesting rumor going around right now from a credible leaker that Nintendo has added new cameras to the next Nintendo Switch. Now, this originates over on Reset Era from a user named Angie, but Angie is not the source of this rumor. Instead, it is from an Atlas insider who correctly leaked the Persona 3 remake being announced and coming soon, and details on Persona 6. And Angie says that they can show mods the DM if they want, that they have direct info from this Atlas insider that there is a new camera function with the Switch 2, not sure if it's VR. Now, this is very interesting, but like I mentioned at the top, very believable. Nintendo is always looking for ways to innovate, ways to improve the gameplay experience, and what's something they've loved forever? Cameras. For some reason, Nintendo is fascinated by cameras. The Game Boy camera, the IR camera, the 3DS AR camera. They're really big on cameras. They love to have cameras, and the Nintendo Switch doesn't have any cameras on the Switch. There's the IR sensor on the Joy-Con, but no camera on that darn actual Switch. So wouldn't it be fitting that Nintendo added cameras for Switch 2? Now, VR is interesting because the insider says they're not sure if it's for VR, and I don't think it is. Nintendo has been rumored to be investigating VR. There's some patents around VR, but I feel like they've evaluated the market and seen VR just isn't going to cut it. Right now, for whatever reason, it's just not very marketable, and it does not have a huge amount of interest or a huge install base. Whether it's something like the Meta Quest, which did do pretty well, or something like the PlayStation VR 2 that didn't do very well at all, none of these are really changing the gaming industry in the way that maybe they should have. For whatever reason, I don't think Nintendo will go full VR, but AR is something they've loved before and something they could easily do again. We've talked lately a lot about will Nintendo incorporate some sort of gimmick for Switch 2. Beyond just more power, a slightly larger screen, better FPS, will Nintendo want to add something quirky and creative to the Switch 2 to make it more than just a Switch 2? And a camera functionality seems like it very well could be that type of a thing. This doesn't rock the boat in the way that motion control did when introducing Nintendo Wii, but it also doesn't risk isolating an already established product and an already established audience that loves the original Switch, which besides the hybrid nature, isn't loaded with gimmicks. A camera could make some cute AR games. It could sort of be their bridge to the future to try and, test bed some different things and experiment with ideas. We know that Labo was a big part of Nintendo Switch for a while there. We know that they did have the Labo VR for a minute. Nintendo loves to innovate, and they kind of have this third pillar of different types of games and software that do appeal to a more, creative Lego type audience. And I think that is where this AR camera could come into effect. Maybe it's not for either. Maybe it's just, I don't know. But it seems like this would be the type of thing Nintendo would add. And this leaker, admittedly on the message board Reset Era, was practically omniscient for a while there, calling these Persona leaks and calling these Persona announcements before they happen. So perhaps Atlas does have a dev kit for Switch 2. That's how this kind of all could tie together. And maybe that's how this leaker has insider information. If they're in close with someone at Atlas to know about the Persona 3 remake, you'd think they'd be in close with Atlas to know about some sort of Switch 2 dev kit perhaps in their possession. Now you can speculate on what kind of games they would bring to Switch 2, but for now, this camera thing is just very interesting to me, and as we've seen it on numerous Nintendo handhelds in the past, I think it's probably the most likely Switch 2 rumor I've seen in quite a while. We have all those that are crazy and clearly fake and false, or they're just design projects, but this camera thing, I think it's very, very plausible. I don't think it really changes anything in terms of my hype or non-hype for Nintendo Switch 2. I'm all in this system no matter what. A camera doesn't move the needle for me, but I would much rather them invest in some sort of AR camera that has limited or quirky usage than try to go full-blow VR or make some massive shift to the Switch system that potentially risks a colossal drop-off. All we've heard Furukawa talk about is how transition is so important. They botched it with Wii to Wii U. They crushed it with Wii U to Switch. They need to crush it again. And I think if they're hellbent on including something quirky and gimmicky, make it something small. Something sort of novel, like an AR camera. Don't make it a huge, big, earth-shaking, game-changing decision. And even though Nintendo has said they want to introduce fresh and surprising experiences for players, I mean, some sort of AR technology to interact with your new Mario, eventually your new Zelda, your new Pikmin, that definitely could be a way to surprise players without having to reinvent the wheel. But let me know what you think about a camera being added to Switch 2. We'll have to wait and see much more detail-wise in terms of what this actually is and how it comes together, and I bet we don't get that for a bit now. But it's interesting that the first bit of Nintendo Switch 2 stuff out of Gamescom comes from a pretty accurate leaker, and it's about the hardware itself, and it's not numbers and tech specs, it's a feature, a camera functionality being added to the Switch. TBD if it's actually real, TBD if it's a front camera and a back camera, just a back camera, just a front camera, who knows? Is there a printer attachment? We'll have to wait and see. But in terms of red Switch and possible Switch 2 camera, I gotta give the win to the camera. I think that's more interesting, more exciting, and has more cool implications than just reusing the red, reusing the neon Joy-Con, and reissuing the dullest OLED update yet. Thankfully, there's more interesting things in the works for Nintendo, and I think the Mario Bros. Wonder presentation will provide more than just another opportunity or excuse for you to spend $360 on an additional OLED. I'll see you all for that tomorrow morning. We'll be streaming bright and early at 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Until that time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.